Hello and good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us today. I really appreciate your being here. It's a busy market, and obviously there are many places you could be, so thank you for being here today. For this panel, which is about the algorithmic score, understanding music rights and royalties, and the legal issues for film composers in the age of AI. I'll repeat that so it's a little louder and clearer. This panel is about the algorithmic score, understanding music rights, royalties, and the legal issues for film composers in the age of AI. And I have with me, joining me on stage, Akotchayé Okio. Okay, so Chaye. Okay, so we've got Chaye here joining me on stage. If you could join me, please, Chaye. Fantastic. Please feel free to give a round of applause, my friends. Thank you. And I also have Ingrid here from Berlin. Fantastic. Thank you. And Samuel from Uganda. Rwanda. So sorry. Good grief. And we have Tosin, I believe, online, joining us from Nigeria. Not sure if Tosin... Hey, Tosin, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, very well. I hope you guys can hear me as well.
Absolutely. Loud and clear. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you all for joining. By way of full disclosure, I will let you know that I am a filmmaker, and in fact, I have very little to do with the music industry or the musical side of things. But that wouldn't really be true, would it? Because on the other hand, film utilizes, music oftentimes as, it's the 50% of the film is the music driving the emotional arc in all of this. But before we get into music, what impact AI can have, and all the other elements we're going to discuss in the limited time that we have, I'd like each of you to just take a moment to introduce yourselves, talk to me about your organization and what it is that your focus is.
Hi, my name is Akotchayé Okio. I'm from Benin. I define myself as proudly born and raised in Africa because I live in Europe now, in France now. And back in the days, I used to be a rapper and a cultural entrepreneur. So I've been there, I've done that. Right now, I work at SACEM. SACEM is the leading collective management organization in the music field. We have many thousands of African members, so I oversee development for Africa at SACEM. And we are involved in the film industry because we cover film composers. So that's why I'm here to discuss the matter.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ingrid. I'm based in Berlin. I'm German. I am an entertainment lawyer, self-employed. I'm running my law firm since 2017. And I mostly represent creative people from the music film industry when it comes to contract negotiations and yeah.
Hello everybody, I'm Samuel Sangwa coming from Rwanda. I'm working with CISAC. CISAC is the International Confederations of Societies of Author and Composer. Basically, it's the platform which brings copyright societies from all around the world. So CISAC today, it's almost 116 copyright societies from 5 continents. We represent more or less 5 million creators in music, in audiovisual, in drama, audiovisual, or in visual arts. As far as the African continent is concerned, which is my area, we have almost 29 copyright societies, and this goes from Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Egypt, all the way down to South Africa, through Togo, Mali, and Senegal. So my role is to support the network of copyright societies across Africa to collect royalties, to secure legislation, and to lobby, and also to engage with artists on matters related to copyright protection.
Fantastic. And next up, Akotchayé.
Hi, my name is Tosin Amire. I'm a film composer from Nigeria, and I have over a decade experience writing music for film, particularly within the scope of African project. But yeah, I've also written music content even for projects outside of Nigeria, as it were. So I have a passion for storytelling through sound. And as such, I craft compelling music and also design sound around film and media content in general. I'm the creative director of my firm, so Sound Decide Production, and we're about 6 team members strong. So yeah, that's the long and short of who Tosin is largely.
Fantastic. Thank you for that introduction, all. Samuel, you started giving some pretty broad coverage in terms of area and scope. So I'd kind of like to begin with you, but this may be relevant to any of you. And Tosin, you weren't with me when I said this, but if at any point in this conversation there's something that you'd like to share or feel strongly about, please feel free to add it at any point, because we're here to get your knowledge and ultimately not just be limited to the conversation that I may be putting forward. Okay?
Fantastic.
So, Samuel, I think that can you kind of break this down a little bit in terms of like what these sound like vast territories. They don't sound like it. They are vast territories. And I'd like to kind of get a sense of what does, even though Africa might be your focus, but that's still a vast territory. And what is that looking like in terms of, let's speak to some of the challenges that you're finding generally on a day-to-day. Can we kind of talk us through that?
Yes, I will be speaking from the viewpoint of what we call collective management. Collective management means creators coming together to administer their rights. Basically, what we need to understand is you have works are artworks, music, audiovisual, and the like, which are exploited out there by a number of users. These stem from broadcasters, TV and radio, I would say. You have DSPs, the platform, and then you have your usual users, what we call hotel, restaurant, cafe, festival, and so forth and so forth. So basically, all of these users need artwork to run their business at some point. It's part of the business model. You need content for platform, streaming platform. You need content for your VOD. You need content for your hotel, restaurant, whatever, broadcaster. And on the other end, you have those who create those works. Those are behind the art. And those are very key because they are the one who create the economic value. They are the one where, from where everything starts. You need somebody to write a script for a movie. You need somebody to compose the music. That's the traditional understanding. And then we'll come to the AI. Now we need to secure revenues for these people thanks to legislation. In each of the country you have a legislation, we provide for intellectual property. It means the right you have on your intellectual investment, the output of investment. So those people need to be paid. Now when it's come to challenge is how do we secure the revenues for these artists? I would say for me, that's one of the issue. And for this very panel is revenues for audiovisual creators, including those who compose music and screenwriters and directors. So for me, that will be, let me say, the introduction of the challenge. You have issues related to legislation, You have issues related to infrastructure from corporate societies. You are having millions of works out there. How do you track them? How do you identify them? And how do you monetize all of this so that it goes to corporate societies? And how corporate societies now distribute the revenues to the rights holders? Basically, that's the issue, I would say.
I would just like to add that there is also a great need for education in Africa, especially when you are dealing with the creatives, because many of them are not aware of the rights. So we really need to empower them. And we also have to lobby, to strongly lobby the governments, because right now everybody is talking about CCI, so cultural and creative industries. They want to tap into this opportunity in terms of building sustainable economies as growth drivers, but they don't really understand that the backbone of CCI is IP. If you don't promote, if you don't protect IP, you cannot have thriving CCIs.
Ingrid, of course, you're in Germany, so things are perfect here, and there would be no problems whatsoever when it comes to distribution of royalties or the knowledge gap. That's all a thing that isn't a problem at all in Germany. Now, of course, I'm being facetious here. What I would love to hear from you is, where are we standing in Germany? You're dealing with artists, and as legal, you're the person who basically I would come to with my project, and you're seeing a lot of the issues that are presenting themselves firsthand. Can you give me an overview from your perspective as a German legal individual? What are you finding? Where are we? What's the landscape looking like when it comes to the legal perspective?
Yeah, where to start? Creative sometimes approach me when they already signed a contract, because they maybe can't afford to hire a lawyer. And when I look over the contracts, it's like, that's not really a contract. It's like betrayal overall. And that sometimes makes me sad. So I am not only consulting within my law firm, but I'm also working with an organization here in Berlin, which is called Music Pool, where I am doing workshops for creative people who can't afford to hire a lawyer. So I'm trying to give them basic information, what it means to create music, what it means to own copyrights, how can I monetize my creation as soon as I'm negotiating with third parties. Because the main issue is that the people, one of the fundamental principles of the European copyright is to get a fair compensation. So as soon as I create a work and I have the exclusive right, which reserved to myself, to negotiate with third parties to get a license fee which is fair. And that's something which some people, they're just granting all of their rights within a catalog, because it's also a problem of negotiation power, because dealing with big companies, and as a small artist, you don't really have the power to maybe negotiate fair clauses within your contract. So yeah, that's the main issues I am experiencing when consulting on creative.
This power imbalance thing keeps coming up. In the last panel, it presented itself, and it seems to be a constant challenge where individuals find themselves sort of isolated in this way, or certainly having a sense of isolation, whether it's real or imagined. And so I'm sort of wondering, I think I'd like to ask Tosin, as a composer yourself, how have you met that challenge, or was it even a challenge for you in terms of the perception of self as a creator in this much larger ecosystem? How are you navigating that? What's your perspective?
So, in all sense of the profession as a music composer, really, one of the challenges, particularly around here in Nigeria, is we have creatives working in silos. We have a film composer here and another one there, but we don't have a body that really brings us together. So it opens up to exploitation. And by exploitation, I'm even referring to within the industry, the film industry, as it were. So this also in itself opens up to a much bigger scale of it. Now, someone talked about the government not having or a creative not having the necessary empowerment to understand what is well within his right regarding his own original creation, regarding his work. So some of this are the issue that presents itself. Some of the issue around working in silos are the fact that we are open to exploitation around what is mine, around what extent I can go to owning a right to a project. Either you are writing for film, either you are owning, maybe you are releasing a body of work. We working in silo, really in silos, really open us up to that much exploitation. And I'm really thinking, I'm hoping it's something that, I mean, we have ASCAP, we have different distribution and publishing platform outside of here, outside of Africa, outside of Nigeria, as it were. So, but well within us, okay, I think I shouldn't go to what solution. Let's just proceed the problems and then we can work the way to solution outside of there. But working in silos, not having a guild, not having a body, working as an individual around the industry has really opened us up to such exploitation. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for that. I have some further questions about your space and situation. We'll come back to you on that. Chia, I'm kind of curious to get your overall perspective and in terms of how you see things, both through your organization and also just in general as someone who is covering these different spaces. How are you seeing the landscape?
Yeah, it's still dysfunctional. That's a reality. That's sad, but I see Africa as one of the last frontiers. So we'll get there. It will take time, but we'll get there because we have more and more creatives, talented ones, who have an ambition, who have totally understood that you only live once and want to make the most of what they have in their hands. So everybody is pushing right now, So I can really feel the energy. Personally, I've been in my position for 7 years now. So things have shifted slowly, but I can really see the change. More and more people are interested in publishing. That wasn't the case in the beginning. More and more right holders pushing for real change on the ground, trying to leverage the cloud to move the needle. So it will take time, but as it was mentioned in the previous panel, we must understand that there is a potential, but we need to structure it in Africa. You cannot yet reap the benefits. You need to be, when you are an international player, you need to understand that you have to put the job on in Africa, it's necessary. We must first build the infrastructure before tapping into it. So that's our mindset, because we know that's the only way to get to a win-win solution. Now let's deep dive into AI.
We're going to get into AI very shortly, but before we do so, I also want to just kind of cover, I've got to be really real about this situation. I think it behooves us to just be very pragmatic here. There are many industries which are very resistant to embracing the black body, the black talent, whether we're talking science and technology, whether or not we're speaking about the world of literature, etc. The world of music is one of the very few areas that we actually are synonymous with as black people. There is a very clear lane that we have carved out, created, and one might say that we actually define the space. So I'm really curious to kind of understand or get an understanding from each of your perspectives. It seems to me that every generation, you can go back to the old days of rhythm and blues, etc. We seem to not be able to have the relevant understanding of the financial mechanisms of this particular space. Why is this such a persistent reality? That's a big question. Why are we not learning each new generation based upon this? And also, where are the guilds? Where are the organizations? What's going on in that space? I'm not in the music world, but can you try to help me understand from each of your legal, organizational, and composer position? Can you help me understand that?
Yes, that's a very good question. And for me, it's very important to consider each continent, each country per se, to not compare, because it's not the same history, it's not the same size of economy in that regard. You said, for instance, in Germany, everything is perfect. I would say no. Currently, we know GEMA, which is the corporate society here, which is suing Suno. Suno is one of the AI platform. It means there are issues. And that's Germany. You have issues in France, you have issues in the USA, you have issues in Morocco, in Algeria, in South Africa. Now, coming back to your question, and I want to relate it to the issue of copyright and also audiovisual. Basically, audiovisual is about telling stories, telling who we are, projecting ourselves into the world. So you need to have resources for that. So in the audiovisual sector, you have different ways of putting the means together. You have a producer, you have a director, you have a screenwriter at some point, and then there are contractual obligation. So one of the revenue stream is through copyright, IP, that was said. So IP is just the economic right which enables you to tell a story at some point. Yeah, I need to tell a story, but I need to have the resources. And that's where we come now with corporate societies. If I want to tell a story, I need to be incentivized. IP incentivizes me because I know I'm going to be paid, I'm going to get revenue. So now we need to look at specific country. Do we have the legislation, the infrastructure to enable you to tell a story at some point? And we can see it's moving. When I joined CISAC 7 years ago, as Africa, we were collecting 56 million euro. Today, we are 85 million euro. It's not big to the scale of the world, but it makes sense for the creators. It means gradually things are moving. We want them to move even faster. But again, we are talking about economies which may be small. Take a country like Rwanda, it's 14 million inhabitants. Very, very small market. But still, we are having creators coming there. So the very question coming back to you is, how do we empower those who look like us, African creators, to tell the story through enabling the environment? And it's not an African issue because it's a collective issue. How do we bring also the voice from Africa to the global audience by enabling this? And that's why the discussion on artificial intelligence is not an African discussion, it's a global discussion at some point. How do we make sure we enable everybody equally to get the means to tell his or her story? That's the fundamental question for me. And it's a global discussion which we need to have.
I think in Germany, the most issue is that the major labels are being managed by white people, and they don't. I mean, there is a shift because more and more people from different countries are working in that kind of professions within major labels or in the music industry, but they maybe don't see the need to make black people tell their stories within the European country because their focus is on how to get more money. So it's more a marketing point of view they are focusing on to when it comes to music exploitation. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, the issue is that we still lack a real music industry when we are talking about this sector in Africa. You have, I usually use this image. We have lone stars shining bright in the sky. The Miriam Makebas, the Manu Dibango, the Hugh Masekelas, the Fellas, Angelique Kidjo, 5 Grammy Awards. She's from Benin, so you know we are the best. Yeah. So 5 rings. She has 5 rings, but these people just hustle their ways to the top. There is no blueprint because when you get to the point that you have an industry, that means that you can repeat success. You have processes, which is not still the case in Africa. For the time being, you have these people who are bold enough, who are lucky enough, who are talented enough to make it, but there are still exceptions. So it's progressively, once again, that we'll get there. I can see the ongoing revolution. I'm full of hope. Really, I'm full of hope, but I know that we still need some time. And the people must understand, because there are many rich persons in Africa, that they need to invest. You have billionaires in Africa who don't know what to do with their money, but they don't understand that that could be so useful in terms of building strong and genuine African narratives, because nobody can do it for us.
Wonderful. Tosin, any thoughts on your side about this?
Yeah, well, there are chances that I will, which I think is also the beauty of meetings like this, but I will relate based on what is obtainable in my land and in my sphere. So in Nigeria, the film industry, as it were, which is the industry where I play, is developing. I won't say we are there yet. It's compared to other film industry outside of Nigeria, we are developing. As such, the development or the level of development will definitely cascade to the other arms that make up the industry. For example, film composition, where I also provide service. So I'm hoping that the progress will also be tangible. just as we progress, even in the field, as the film industry at large progresses, we'll also have the same spiral down to music, whereby we will get it right. We'll get copywriting right. We'll get publishing, distribution. We'll get it right. So there are also other factors that are at play: governmental, creating enabling environments, getting the right investment. But I think from my own side of view, based on the industry that I am, I'm just hopeful that we will get the progression that is necessary for us to really get the copywriting aspect of music and media material right.
That I believe that has to be the case, and especially in your region of the world where something like Afro beats is so prevalent and is dominating the world. I mean, we have to secure these things. Artificial intelligence, AI. We've had several panels here. I've moderated some pertaining to the legal aspect of it. There are others about, the negative aspects of it, whether or not it's going to mean the end of humanity or all such things. And also all of the benefits and the fact that it can help composers, the music community in a variety of different ways. Of course, we're talking about generative AI here, generally speaking, just to be clear. And I'd like to firstly just see what each of you, when I mention AI, what comes to mind for each of you, because I've found different people approach this particular subject very differently. So what does artificial intelligence, generative artificial intelligence, mean to each of you?
Disruptive innovation.
I think it can be a chance, but it also can be very, especially from the creative point of view, it's a risk. They fear of their compensation of their royalties. So I'm in the middle.
And I would say it from the viewpoint of CISAC. I do a lot of workshops and trainings. And in the past, I would always say, behind each artwork, there is a human being. And I realize now I can no more say that. it's done. We can no more say there is. And to put it in a way, when you say copyright, sometimes we don't get the point. But when you say author's right, human being authoring something, to author is to give birth, to an artwork. So artificial intelligence is questioning that very aspect. Copyright or author's rights, are we still having a human being behind the artwork? That's the question. And now it comes with the other question. If we don't have the human being behind, how do we fix the issue of remuneration in this regard? And again, I want to insist on this: copyright, it's economic right. And when I say economic right, I'm talking about human rights. It's the human right to be paid. Artists, like all of us, need to make a living, rent, family, and the like. So basically, the very essence of copyright was to enable artists to be paid as a human right, as an economic right. Now, AI is questioning that very aspect. And that's where we have people who are divided, saying, this is going to support creators. Some people are saying, no, this is going to substitute itself to creators. So for us in CISAC, it's a huge concern. I brought some slides which I'll share later. How is generative AI going to impact the audiovisual and the music sector? And how we are going to loop in Africa, what can we anticipate in that regard?
Tosin, any thoughts on AI? What does that term conjure for you?
Creatively, as a creative person, I would rather term it as a positive disorder. And that in the sense that it comes with its very great pros and also the not so good cons. So while AI, from the creative standpoint, can be a good tool or a very good, a great and a fantastic tool, it can also, I mean, it has the plenty of its cons, but I would want to limit it here as I understand that conversations around AI will unfold from here on.
Gotcha. So then sticking with you, Tosin, the conversation I had legally is that if you, all AI is not created equally. It depends on whether it's open source or whether or not it's limited to a certain, whether the rights of the training model has been granted, whether or not it's actually legally possible to use a particular AI generative source versus an open source platform which is pulling from everybody's intellectual property. So what does that mean for you as a composer? Because are you giving thought to this situation, which is that if you utilize sources, an open platform, it sort of means that your composition at the end of the day may not be able to be protected by copyright because somehow in the chain of title, it is not really your singular composition. Is that a conversation happening in your world?
Most definitely. Now, the only difference for me, thankfully, I realized it earlier on at the advent of AI as to the possibility, just like you also asserted, of pulling information off of different sources, which doesn't, at the end of the day, makes it your original content. Now, as a music composer, there are different elements that makes up a music. Let's say there's the lyrics, there's the melody, there's the progression, so many of it, if we start breaking it down. What I've used AI to do, which has saved me, is I've not allowed, and it's also thankfully because of the field where I work. Just like you said, it's generative, it's systemic. However, film is very emotional. Film is you as a film composer need to touch on those emotional points, which AI might not be so vast to do. It's systemic, it's arithmetic, it's so you won't, so at best, what I've used AI to do is say, get ideas. Oh, give me a progression here, give me a progression there. What choice, what type of music would fit this particular scenery, this particular outlook of a movie project? And then from there, I flesh out whatever idea that I might have from such AI platform. Now, if you look at it, you can't really be sued for using, and I'm using the word sued very loosely, for using a particular chord progression that has been on another song. Because if you date that song even back in time, you will see that some other song. So it's not even a question. So those are actually my approach. I've not gone the extent of pulling actual music. Yeah, it probably will work in music creation. Let's say the Afrobeat that you suggested, you can have an AI platform that will generate musical composition in that regard, maybe with a prompt, with a text prompt here and there. But for film, which is emotive, you have to work out the kinks as a film composer by yourself. And really, it has helped me stay at top, using other people's content, using content pulled from internet here and there, really.
Thanks for your insight on that. Ingrid, I'd like to know, what are your thoughts? What are you finding? And has the AI situation impacted your clients at this point? What are the conversations you're having here in Germany?
When I recently was negotiating a publishing contract, and in that contract there were clauses which oblige the artist to not use AI for their creation. And I had a discussion with the other party, why are they not allowed to use AI at all? I can understand that it's inappropriate to use generative AI exclusively for creating music, but to use it as an inspiration source, like when you go outside or you're listening to existing music, this is also an inspiration. So why AI cannot be an inspiration for creating music, just like as a basis? And that was something I was dealing with recently. And another thing I experienced is that besides all the rights catalog they are trying to get, is that they are also asking or requesting to transfer the music in order to use it for AI systems. Yeah, that's new right now when it comes to licensing contracts.
Absolutely, that's... Well, I have so many questions about that right there. But Chaye, you seem to have a lot of thoughts about the AI situation. Can you, I'm not going to try to lock you into a singular question. I kind of want to get your sense in terms of some of the, some of your feelings and thoughts around it.
I think that can be a real opportunity for creatives, because especially when you are looking things from an African perspective, AI is easing the creative process. So you have kids all around the world now who can, through prompts, create content, okay? And we know that the appetite for Africa as a whole is at an all-time high, okay? So the likeliness that you can have many prompts regarding African music is high. And that means that the only thing that we need to provide are guardrails to ensure that we can make a business from it, to ensure that we can monetize for the ones who have created the songs that are inspiring the prompts. That's the issue. So the issues, in fact, revolve around the generative AI platforms. So how we ensure that when they are training their platforms, they give information regarding the songs that they have used, and that they are compensating for this use, because we are talking about commercial platforms. So if we can come to this consensus and say, okay, we understand, we acknowledge the fact that, okay, as platforms, we are taking advantage of pre-existing copyrighted works to create, to advance our business. So you need to have a share of the market. It's okay. It's totally okay. And as Tosin put it, it's just a tool at the end of the day. Because I don't think that even if AI is biting many markets, for instance, music libraries are in jeopardy, to be honest. But this is for low-budget content, where you are not waiting for high-quality output per se. There is, for me, I don't see it necessarily as a threat. We just need, once again, to find a way to license this opportunity for the right holders who are involved. And we can do it at the training stage, and then at the output stage. Because if we have the certainty that you have used copyright content to train your platforms, then these copyright content will also be part of the final result. And then we can also discuss at this level of how we can build a licensing scheme. So I think that it's easier to say than to apply, of course, but this is our mindset as SACEM. At SACEM, as a copyright society, we are just here to protect and to ensure that our people are thriving. So it's another opportunity avenue, and we are just trying to regulate it. And that's why the times where we stand at right now at a European stage, because this AI Act will enter into force in August. And there are many aspects that have not been really fixed yet, especially regarding this obligation to provide information on the songs that you have, the content that you have used to train. So the register, the fact to keep a register of what you have used to train, we need to ensure that there is a right framework, that the code of conduct that will be enacted is really compliant with copyright laws in Europe, to start with this territory, and then use Europe as a beacon to lead the movement.
Did you want to say something, Simon?
Yes, and I think, and for us, definitely at CISAC, it's a great tool, but definitely we don't want to end up with massive infringement of copyright. That's the issue. And I just bought some few slides, if you can put them on the screen. We CISAC conducted a study on the impact of generative AI in the music and audiovisual, looking, first of all, at the size of the market. What are we talking? Which amount of money? And the potential loss of revenue for creators, because for us, that's where is one of the issues. When people are talking, this is a great tool, how much are we talking about? And what is at risk for creators at some point? And why are we calling for a legislation, I would say? So I will spare you with this. This is CISAC in the world. Basically, all the copyright societies for CISAC in Africa, in the world, 227 copyright societies, collected 13 billion euro. That's the money we collected as of now. That's what we are talking about. Now, and this is in music, audiovisual, drama, literature, and visual art. Now let's go to AI. The market size for music by 2028, the market size is estimated to 16 billion. So this market size is composed of the user, you and I, we are going to create music ourselves thanks to AI. This is one thing. The other part will be that music can be going on streaming platform. And this is something which she said is coming, where my kid, yourself, you are not a musician, you've been saying it, but now you can create music. And then you can put it into a streaming platform. And this is money we are talking. The other part of the market is also what you call background music. Background music is the music you listen probably in a movie, for instance, you know. So this also we are seeing it being generated by AI. But you also have core music in audiovisual production. As Tosin said, that music which creates emotions, drama, and the like. So this is market size only for music. You also have it for audiovisual, but only for music. In terms of loss of revenue, we are talking about 4 billion each year between now and 28. It's loss. When I'm saying loss is people who are not getting paid, who are not getting remunerated at some point. And at the same time, the platform themselves are making profits, making money. And this. So there is also this type of balance we need to look at. That was for music. When we are talking about audiovisual, it's even bigger in terms of market size. Market size is 48 billion. So this is AI-generated audiovisual works for social media and for TV. That's one part of it. But we've also included in the study what we call upfront payment. It means directing. It was said yesterday, now AI can help in directing, you know? So basically, the machine will somehow give instruction and the like. You also have AI for dubbing and subtitle. Here, it's even worse because we are anticipating 56% of loss in revenues. So we are talking about jobs which are likely to disappear and also revenues which are not being paid in that regard. And now you also have screenwriting itself in audiovisual, like you need a script. So more and more, this is what we are talking about. I'll stop there just to give you the magnitude of the issue at stake. And again, as I said, we are talking about economic rights, people who need to be paid. I think in the last 2 weeks, there was a big conference in Paris where they brought a number of stakeholders from all around the world. And the issue is there was kind of a final statement, but it's not a binding one. And out of this statement, 2 countries opted out, the USA and the UK. Yep. And then again, we are coming back to your original question, how we as Africa can thrive in that world where this platform, the most powerful one, are in the USA. How do you engage with them? You know, because what we don't say is loss of revenues, loss of jobs. We have what we call cannibalization. It means the AI is substituting itself to human being in a number of across the value chain. Right. So we need to be very, very careful. And then again, for me, that's why it's a global issue. How do we do when the USA and the UK said, no, we want to support AI to thrive because it's very important, but at the cost of human economic rights. So that will be some of the questions to look at.
Absolutely. It looks like did you have something to say on that one? Well, let me jump into this because we're almost out of time, but I do have a concern here. My concern is this. If we look at the African continent and we realize that we have the largest, youngest demographic, and Tosin, this is something that I'd love to get your thoughts on as well, which is that we have the largest, youngest demographic. At the same time, we know that there is the potential for a kind of leapfrogging effect here with these young people taking up artificial intelligence, but they're not going to do it based upon what is open source and what is not. They're just going to start playing. Do we run the risk here at some point of individuals learning, creating, and once again falling into this problem, which it feels to me that as Black people we keep falling into, which is at some point, and now I'm back to the Paris situation with Britain and America pulling out of the conversation, at some point there are going to be guardrails and a legal precedent set up. Are we going to be on the right side of that legal conversation, or are we going to find ourselves with African content which is not going to be able to kind of be monetized from an intellectual copyright perspective? Can I just quickly get your thoughts on that, Tosin?
So, for new technologies such as this, I really believe that there is a learning curve. And by learning curve, I mean there will be people who will be on the other side of the guardrail who want to overly extend what is possible. I mean, we've had issues with piracy running a long game, even down here. It's something that is in the works, whereby the government is biting down. I mean, it's one of the example. Yes, they are doing very better. It's much better than what it used to be before now, which is also the same thing that I think will play out with artificial intelligence. We'll have people who will want to exploit what is possible, just like was it Samuel that said, you are not a musician. And I'm not against creativity. It's okay to not be a musician and want to create music with the possibility of AI, but to what extent, to how well the folks that are also the, how do I put it, the expert, how well will it come for their job? I mean, so many things to look out for. But my assertion, which I've made with piracy, is we definitely will have people that will be on the other side of the guardrail, but eventually will come to a balance.
Once again, for me, everything revolves around the platforms because the users can do what they want as long as it's legit. Yeah. And it's legit because there is a deal between the platforms and the right holders. And there is an example right now, Universal, which is working on a licensing deal with YouTube, which will enable all YouTube users to do what they want in terms of prompts with universal content, because there will be this monetization deal between the two entities. So at the end, so it's fine. You can do what you want, but the platform is paying the right holders, and that's great. Yeah. I think that should be the model. So as Samuel put it, the main issue right now is how do we prevent infringement. That's the real issue. So we have to ensure that these platforms, these big players, are complying with the law. That's what we are trying at the European level right now, and we hope that it will be delivered, and then that could be seen as an example for the rest of the world. But it's an ongoing battle, and it's a tug of war, because yes, that's how each and every legislation came to life. It's through tug of war. It's a bargaining power, in fact. And then you have the law.
Great final words to end on, I believe. We are out of time, but I really would like to thank you all for your diverse and insightful knowledge base in this particular issue. I look forward to being able to have a further conversation at some point, but for now, can we put our hands together and thank our panel?